Hi everyone. Today we are joined by Balaji Thiruvengadam, the founder of Persevere Cybersec Labs, a company that's redefining enterprise security through an AI native platform at the intersection of attack surface management and supply chain intelligence. Balaji brings over 20 years of experience across startups and global enterprises, combining deep technical leadership with strategic vision. He's passionate about transforming cybersecurity from reactive compliance to proactive machine speed defense, helping organizations stay resilient in a world that's shaped by generative AI. Balaji, it's a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Absolutely. It's a great opportunity to interact with you, Abishek. And I really appreciate me being part of this, podcast. Thank you.
Of course, yeah. Let's get started, right? Let's dive right in. Most enterprises struggle with requirements that are vague, fragmented, and costly to align. So, in your view, how do you think approaching an AI first SDLC can realistically solve this pain point and give leaders confidence in executing better?
I think with all my 20 years, so this is one of the common pitfall, right? So where we struggle a lot of these translation layer between what customer wants with what engineer builds. And with the AI first SDLC, actually it collapsed this translation layer. What I mean by that is, we can say that we're moving towards requirement synthesis now. And so the AI is a more of a sophisticated knowledge aggregator, and it ingests all the fragmented data right from the what you call ASLE return user stories to different technical depth or conversations across different meetings. All of them can be curated now and unified, to make a more meaningful specification. So this gives a lot of confidence for the dev community, even the technology leader, to see how to focus predominantly on the execution, right, instead of fighting into the chaos of the requirement and making the requirement perfect to execute.
Completely agree with you.
So, yeah, I mean, it definitely, I think, leader gets confident because you have much more curated information compared to where the human-driven SDLC today.
Got it. I think that's a great viewpoint and great insight into this, and I completely agree with you. Right, I think kind of having Gen AI here in the requirement space helps leaders kind of be that much more confident in making sure that they're doing the right translation into production. So with that being said, let's talk about finding the balance. Right, AI can generate designs and code at scale, but trust and accountability, at least at this point, still sit with people. So how do you see the role of human judgment evolving in this new model? And do you see that even in the future, as Gen AI matures and AI matures, humans still need to be involved in the loop?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I see this as a beautiful, very constructive model. The shift is actually not replacing humans, and the shift is from creation to curation. Right? And the human judgment still doesn't disappear. In fact, I mean, if you ask me, I would say that it is getting elevated. Right. So, what I mean by that, engineers are moving from the role of coder to now probably auditor. You can call it like AI auditor, right? And the primary function becomes more of what you feed into the machine and ensure that the intent is right and what we want to achieve is rightly aligned. And once the outcome is ready, and then probably ensure that it follows the governance. I mean, I think to give you a few examples, let's say you would still have these ethical and business validation. What I mean by that is properly whether the code meet the security, privacy, or ethical standards of the organizations or customers. And architecturally, I mean, whether it is aligning to still a legacy system or still the enterprise complexities, right? So is it fitting really well inside that, right? Because at times the machine might look at generating any of these in a new fashion. Right? So this is how I would say it. The human judgment kind of really shift. So now human will have to spend more time in auditing and instead of writing a boilerplate code.
Yep. And I think that's where the shift is definitely happening, right? You are seeing humans using Gen AI to generate the code and then kind of making sure that everything they generated is accurate. I think it'll be very interesting to see how this progresses, right? Whether we're going to start getting agents that kind of do this validation, right? Right now, humans basically act as your agents. So I think that'll be really interesting to see. Any thoughts on that, Balaji? Kind of. As to whether like Gen AI can actually bring in agents that kind of do this validation for you rather than having a human in the loop later down the line.
No, I mean, I think there may be a big shift again, down the road, and where I would consider to see this as a transformation of roles for human versus AI. As you rightly pointed out, of course, some of these low-hanging, validation can start with AI agent, and then AI agent can evolve to perform more intellectual validation. So by then, I think humans still have a place, right? So you would have different role transitioning for a human as well. Yeah, but I think it's a right mix of balance. And then, if you honestly look at it, I mean, the stage that we are in, and the kind of products that are associated or coming along associated for development, and then technology, plays a wide role. And I see that I think even the era, the last 2 decades that I've seen, how the industry is, how various development that I had to go through as part of different organization with versus the last 2 years shift. It's beautiful, right? I think it is already, making human uh, more meaningful to spend time at the right place and leverage AI really well for the organization.
Completely agree. So let's kind of talk about moving beyond speed and then talking about control, right? Enterprises obviously love the promise of faster delivery, but unchecked acceleration can sometimes, and then probably most of the times, create more technical debt and compliance gaps in your system. So, what do you think the right balance between velocity and control is, and how do you measure that?
I think this question is beautifully connected to the one that you asked, right? So, I mean, today at the stage where we are, I mean, probably these tech debts or compliance gaps still arises with AI, and so then probably human plays a controlling part. I mean, that would evolve over a period of times. I see that already. Things are getting matured well. But I mean, if you honestly ask me, right, so there is, we need to really strike a balance between speed and, how governance coming in to have a high quality deliverables. Right? So we must, I mean, strive for intelligent velocity, in my view. Right? For example, I mean, it's not just accelerating, you know, the writing of code. All right. It is more to do with accelerating the overall quality and the governance alongside. Right. So, the guy first SDLC, if you look at it, right? So, it controls or it actually enables the direct generation process. Right? So, for example, AI writes a feature and for the given input, and possibly there has to be control placed after this process, which could be again AI, right? Or could be more combo of human and AI, where we need to ensure that the security clause, any technical depths, or the non-compliance around what the code has been produced, and how do we tie these process to ensure that the speed produces still a quality outcome. Uh, yeah, I mean, I think so. Still, I mean, you honestly look at it. I mean, I would not see this AI creating a tech gap. I mean, even as part of the human code generation, so when you look for acceleration, and you would end up having a lot of tech debt. The human tech debts are higher than what we are seeing with AI.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely agree. I think you used the term intelligent velocity in your answer, right? I think that really caught my attention. I think it's a beautiful way of phrasing while not just looking for speed with Gen AI, but actually making sure that we are generating the right output at the right speed. Um, so let's talk about measuring success, right? I think this is again connecting to some of the points you alluded to before. So with AI accelerating delivery, what are some of the metrics or the KPIs that engineering leaders like yourself focus on to ensure that the AI first approach truly drives business value, right? And not just speed. So like you talked about intelligent velocity, but are there specific metrics or KPIs that you look at, Balaji?
Absolutely. I think, see, for a technology leader, the R&D investment, right, is very essential. So how much do you spend year over year, and where are you spending those money? Right. So do you spend on maintenance or maintain your existing customers and product feature function, versus how much you are truly spending on research, innovations? So the cost is an important metric. And while I think you integrate AI, we need to measure how much reduction in maintenance and compliance management, versus how much you're able to put on capitalizing the speed for true innovation. And the second important metric is, of course, the cycle time, uh, the concept to production. Right? So how well you're able to now take it to customer faster, how well you're able to validate what you're doing. I mean, I think now people are talking a lot about white coding, right? So where they're saying that the cycle time of concept to production is coming down. So that's something that I would look at it. And similarly, I think there are low hanging metrics, but I think they are still important. Defect escape rate, and how many defects are leaking to production, how many of them creating high to low impact to the customers or business availability. And I think see it may not be a metric. I think we don't have standard metric yet, but I still see that. I think the success of AI integrated products and team relies on how these team structure. Right? So we talked about pizza, from a larger team to pizza. Right? So now we need to see whether this AI is going to come in and take the two pie of the pizza, and yeah, new dimensions of the team. Right? So will I produce more with less? Uh, yeah.
Got it. Okay. I mean, like from what I'm hearing from you, looks like a lot of the metrics that you'd probably be looking at are still similar to the pre-Gen AI era, right? But we're just kind of expecting some of those metrics to kind of improve and kind of get better with Gen AI coming into play. And I think that makes perfect sense that we're broadly still kind of tracking the same metrics. Um, so
And I think,
let's
see, and if you put it in a simple term, right? See, at the end of the day, irrespective of what comes in, right? And so what I spend to produce whatever I want to produce, right? So to make how much ever money. So that's a bottom line. What I use doesn't matter, right? So whether I'm going to use high quality human being or high quality agents, right? So that doesn't matter. So to me, I think as a technology leader, and what goes into my bottom line, and how do I optimize that? That's a very important parameter that will actually stay eternal. All right. And definitely, I think quite a lot of other, human amplification factor would come in. Right. So with AI coming in, and then I think as you kind of prompting, those metrics would be very relevant, at an engineering manager level to look at it.
agree. Um, let's move on and talk about the human expertise in the loop, right? As you mentioned, AI has already started handling repetitive and complex coding tasks. So how can engineering leaders ensure that human expertise is preserved, leveraged, and amplified across teams, right? Obviously, people are going to start working on different things. Engineers are going to start focusing on different problems. But how do we make sure that uh, human skill set is maintained, and what do you see their role being going forward?
In my view, so there would be a serious, shift or a change to the roles that we currently practice in larger engineering units. And so today we have fragmented a lot, as a probably UX designer or a UI UX developer and front end developer, back end developer, DevOps, architects, right? I don't see a lot of play for all of these roles. And you still have a play for good talents, great talents. And right, so now for 10, they will have to start rolling up, to play little broader role, right? Or they get an opportunity to play a much broader role than me doing something in one corner, right, of the team. So that is a shift that I'm hoping is going to happen sooner, or it has already started happening. And now people will have to actually pay more attention because AI still needs a knowledge, proprietary knowledge, right? So you talk about a domain, you talk about a specific customer problem, right? And it is finding a way to solve, right? But then the knowledge is still lies with the human. And the human probably will have to now learn a lot about customer problems and learn a lot about the world's problem and impact that it is creating to the mankind. And so their role would be how well they translate, that be it a model or be it different knowledge artifacts, for the system to perform. And probably now, as we talked about earlier, still the governance and validation could be with a human, but then I think over a period of time, so that also slightly slowly move towards, yeah.
I think that that makes sense, Balaji, and I do agree with you that kind of making sure that and then figuring out how humans translate those skills to make sure that they're applicable in a Gen AI world, I think becomes really important. I think finally to kind of get to our last topic of discussion, right? I'm a little bit curious about cross team collaboration. I know we briefly touched upon this with your previous answer, but how does introducing Gen AI into your SDLC kind of change the way that your product engineering and operations teams work together, right? And then what are some of the challenges you foresee in managing this shift? Do you think there'll be a lot of pushback, or are you currently seeing pushback when you try to kind of integrate all of these teams to work together in a closer manner than they did before?
I think it's a fantastic question. And I think honestly, so in my prior engagement, I was part of this transition phase. We led that for about 6 weeks. And um, see what happens, right? So with the larger teams, and it becomes a lot more difficult, challenging. And ideally, you have to break your structure, right, to facilitate this because people can actually come back. Let's say there are different products and that uses along with your gate for your port generation. Eventually, I think your prompt engineering is not good enough. Right, so people come back and completely blame these suite of products and say that, hey, okay, I mean, it doesn't going to fit, right? And you'll see more number of people singing the same song, right? So without any details. So that I think then they always in a rush to go back, to their earlier model. And but whereas I think I've also experienced, I mean, when we experimented with a small group of people, 3, 4 people with a meaningful engineer sitting at the product level, and somebody leading, I think they are able to adopt, they are able to appreciate some of these incubation really well. Yeah, so I think in my view, right, so there is a trust gap, you know, on these products. I mean, probably it could be they're learning about what you can do, or how, what are the challenges exist. And then there is a serious need for the skill shift, and which probably, today we have a space where engineer can restrict themselves from the skill shift, right, and then create those barriers. But yeah, but I think it's just a matter of time, and we may have to move towards a state where every engineering house inevitably will have these products and follow AI SDLC. That's what I anticipate.
Yep, I think that makes sense, right? If you don't kind of go with the flow and adopt Gen AI, I think you kind of definitely get left behind. So I think it's imperative that all of the engineering teams out there, adopt Gen AI as quickly as possible, and um, try to make the best use of it as they possibly can. Um, that wraps up today's conversation. Balaji, thank you so much for sharing your insights on how an AI first SDLC is shaping software delivery, and for giving us a peek into some of the challenges and opportunities that engineering leaders are facing in driving this transformation. To all our listeners, I hope this discussion gave you a fresh perspective on balancing speed, human judgment, and strategic vision in enterprise software. Uh, Stay curious and keep experimenting, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you.